Tell the story of Freddie's 60th, which is 2006. We were all invited to We Will Rock You, actually on the 5th of September, the year he was born, and basically it was fan club members. Jackie had given us all sort of pre-sale tickets. The fan club was given access to tickets first before they went on sale to the general public. And basically the rule was to dress as wonderful and as fabulous as you could, a la Freddie style. And some of the outfits were absolutely amazing that I saw, and it was really good sitting in a theatre of everybody dressed up to the nines. Top hat, tail, gloves, tiaras, some beautiful dresses as well. Children, older people. It was just a really, really good night, and at the end of the show we all sang Happy Birthday to Freddie, which I just absolutely loved. It actually brought a tear to my eye, and that was one of the best Queen events that I've been to, aside from the gigs.
Yeah, the only thing that spoilt it for me slightly was the appearance of McFly during Don't Stop Me Now.
Yes.
And the only reason I say that, no disrespect to any McFly fans, because I actually think McFly are a really talented band. The only reason I say that is because I'm quite a fan of the current Killer Queen, Maz Murray, and Don't Stop Me Now is normally her song in the show, and it meant that we were denied her vocals for a further 4 minutes.
It's sung all the way through, and normally in the show it's not sung all the way
They
through.
appeared through a hole in the floor, if I remember.
They did.
The Dominion Theatre is great. It's got a load of trap doors, and in fact the Dominion Theatre, fact fans, is where Freddie's video for his solo single Time was filmed, because Time was the musical that was running during at the Dominion Theatre at the time in 1986, so they managed to get a day to record the video there. But what Charlie hasn't mentioned is the fact that during Bohemian Rhapsody, Brian came up through a hole in the floor and performed the guitar solo, and then when it came to the heavy metal bit, Roger came through a trapdoor at the back of the stage on his drum kit, and they actually did a short acoustic set at the end of the gig.
They did.
Brian sang Love of My Life. Roger sang Say It's Not True, which has become it became such a popular song before it was ever included on any album. And then Ben Elton came out and announced how much money had been raised, which I imagine was £250,000 from what I remember. And then, as a bit of an exclusive, Brian and Roger came on at the end and sang The Show Must Go On with the entire cast. And that was something special as well. But you're quite right, the end where everybody just, you know, without being prompted, just sang Happy Birthday to Freddie.
You're talking about 2,000 plus people all singing Happy Birthday. It was just amazing.
And it was unprompted. Nobody started it. We all had the same idea at the same time. And it's one of those moments. It's one of those you had to be there moments. It will probably never be replicated again. But every year, Freddie is missed more terribly than he is the previous year by a lot of us fans. And I know it sounds sappy to say, but when when one of your heroes has been gone that long, you do tend to think
that's another milestone. I don't know, can you call it a milestone next year?
It'd be 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
And it would have been his 65th.
Yeah.
He was the oldest member of the band by a few months.
He's a year older than Brian, I think.
He's
Brian's
10
47?
months. He's 10 months.
Yeah.
1947.
I read somewhere if you can't imagine them being older, then they weren't supposed to get old. It's a weird saying, but it works for Princess Diana. If you couldn't imagine her being older, then she weren't meant to be old. I think the same applies to Freddie. If you can't imagine him being old, then what would he do?
He'd still be doing music.
I think he'd be writing and producing, but not performing.
Yeah.
No, I reckon he'd still be performing. I reckon he'd have toned down some of his movements on stage. I reckon he'd be coming out more in suits. I reckon he'd be doing a Brian and a Roger and coming out wearing dress suits as opposed to leotards.
Well, Brian
and
tends
stuff.
to go for the black velvet trousers and white trainers.
Or clogs.
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 And
a little Brian with clogs on.
Well, you can't exactly describe a 6'2" man as little.
I know.
Especially when he's wearing clogs, you know, because they're quite tall on their own.
My dad's of the opinion that Brian and Anita are the same person anyway. Same hairstyle.
Allegedly.
Well,
allegedly.
This is not fact, by the way.
Yeah, allegedly.
Look at this.
No, I can actually say they are different people.
But
And I can actually say, Brian, you are a lucky sod.
But what gets me is the press sometimes they go a bit delay. I remember reading that Brian and Anita had split up temporarily or something like that. And then there's a photo of them, and the caption was Brian and Anita, but who gets custody of the curling tongs? I was like, is that what it boils down to?
It grows out of his hair like that. Grows out of his head like that. If you were to have
Yes, it does. That's how it grows.
I think, did I not read, was it Katie's status? She said she'd read an interview with Robert Plant and they'd said to him, when are you going to reform back with Led Zeppelin? And Katie put, oh, for God's sake, he doesn't like answering that question. So it's a bit like Brian May when people ask him, when are you going to cut your hair? Shouldn't you? Pretty much.
In fact, there was a 2002 documentary, if you remember, on Channel 4, and they were talking about his hair and his clogs at great length. And Brian, being the kind of person that he is, polite sternness, I think was the term, he said, I maintain that it is my inalienable right to wear my hair anywhere I damn well like, and wear whatever I like on my feet, and really I don't expect to be talking about this. I expect people to be interested in what I do, otherwise don't talk to me. But he said it all with a smile on his face. He was impeccably polite.
Yeah.
He's the only person who can have a rant at somebody and still come across as so polite.
Yeah. He's alright.
He is the nice man of rock, really, isn't he?
Yeah. Roger is as well, but it depends on what mood you get him in.
Roger's actually pretty straightforward. If he wants to talk, he'll talk. If he doesn't want to talk, he won't. He'll just say, no thank you, and on he goes.
Yeah, we normally get messages from one member of the band every year. In fact,
This
we've
year
just
we've
had
got both, didn't we?
Yeah, the last couple of years we've had both. We've just had a DVD, an exclusive bit of merchandise, which you will only get as a fan club member, of the band, including Freddie and John when they did them. A DVD of all of their
The welcome
messages, and it's just been
So
released.
many memories.
It did. I can tell you, you will not get that DVD anywhere else. You will only get it as a fan club member.
Was it £15? Was it?
£15. It is still available. And the 1 year, it's mainly been Brian since Freddie has passed away, who has done the messages. But in 2009, Jackie made a point of saying Mr. Taylor, the lesser spotted Taylor bird, I think she called him, volunteered to do a message.
Yeah.
And the cheers that he got were just immense. You literally could not hear him at certain points because of how loud the cheers were. And he said, I think the record company did a shocking job of promoting the new album. And then for about the next 3 sentences you could not hear a single thing because everybody was roaring their approval of what he said. But that's another thing, you get exclusive messages from the band
You also
every
get
year.
very few and far between, really, messages from the elusive Mr. Deacon, who will. It tends to be in the form of an autograph on a picture or something like that.
We had a Christmas card.
Yeah, we did.
Not
The
this year, but the
Christmas
year
card
before.
where he signed it.
Yeah.
So
2010 it was signed. No, 2009, and Have You Happy.
We also have an auction where certain bits of memorabilia get sold, and one that sticks in my mind was Freddie's sunglasses that he wore on the front cover of the Mr. Bad Guy album. They were framed with a photo underneath of him wearing them. They went for £4,000.
Yep, and the Christmas card went for £1,000 as well.
Yeah, a Christmas card from Jim Hutton.
No, from Freddie to Jim.
From Freddie to Jim.
Can I tell that auction story?
Yeah.
Oh, because it was so brilliant. I thought it was fantastic. When We Will Rock You had just come out in the theatre, and this framed poster, just We Will Rock You. I've got one. I bought at the auction. So, but it's a We Will Rock You poster, and it's signed by all the original cast. You got like Tony Vincent and all that, and so it was signed and framed, and so they said, right, we've got this poster here. It's been framed. It's signed by all the cast members. We Will Rock You, you know. And they said, right, this is a special auction now. This is a telephone. We've got a telephone bidder on the line. We're just like, we don't do telephone bidding. We're all here. And just like, what's going on? What's going on? So they said, no, we've got a telephone bidder. So of course, you know, we're bidding against this telephone bidder. Every time we bid, this telephone bidder's going higher. And it soon dawned on us that we weren't going to be able to outbid this telephone bidder, so most people started dropping out, and it got sold for, I think it went for about £400 to the telephone bidder, and then Jim says, and sold to the telephone bidder for £400. By the way, the telephone bidder is Brian May. I was just like, well, we would have never got it anyway. It's just
Brian actually collects every piece of memorabilia brought out merchandise by Queen from since day one, really. I'd love to see all that in his house as a museum. He's just got everything. He's even got one of the robots that were brought out after News of the World. So they're very rare. He's got one of those as well.
Yeah.
He is a collector.
Anything else?
Although I think Vern and Julie could probably outdo him in the collector's stakes, and Andy Sparks as well, who has his own garden lodge in his house.
Yes.
His little piece of Queen heaven. I'm sure if we get him on tape, he'll tell you a bit more about that.